All glory to God, people. The Lord is good. This is the short version of the long video I just posted, which I probably will post that. It took 7 hours to download. So it's in the chamber. I'm about to release it. This is the short version of that video, if I can pull it off. Now I'm looking through my phone and it looks really tiny. Like I can't even read it on my phone right now. I can read it looking at the notebook, but I can't read it through the phone. So hopefully you guys will be able to like do this with your phone and make it bigger and all that so you can read what's going on here. So we'll have to figure this thing out. And listen, I stink at charts, but I tried. So we're going to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. But I'm telling you, this is God's timeline. So you got people like Brenda Weltner, and she didn't come up with it, but there's a lot of people that think, you know, there's a 3.5-year tribulation because Jesus' 3.5-year ministry somehow was half of Daniel's 70th week, so the other half is going to be the tribulation. Well, that's nonsense, because you see right here, the two witnesses. I'm going to try to use my ruler. The two witnesses get 1,260 days, and I explain that a little bit more on the long video. This is the short video, so I'm just going to show you what's up. And this, I'm telling you, this is rock solid God's timeline. So again, this, I don't know if this video is going to work. I can't even see it. When I'm looking into my phone, I can't read it. I can't see it. I've got double glasses on. So I'm just going to have to count on the fact that you guys are blowing it up so you can see it. So I have to look at the board. All right. We're going to find out if God's going with, this ruler's almost too big. Let me try my pen. If God is going to go with the Gregorian 9/23 or our calendar, the full moon calendar, 10/7. These two dates are, they're claiming this is Feast of Trumpets. We're claiming this is Feast of Trumpets. So one of these two dates are the 7th month and first day of the month. So 2025 is where we're at now. 7/1 on God's calendar is either 9/23 or 10/7. So again, forget the rapture date right now. We're looking for the tribulation start date, because that will be the date that the two witnesses start their 1,260 days, found in Revelation 11:14, or actually 11:3. 14 is where it ends. So scratch that. It's 11:3. And I got all the dates on the other big video, or the scriptures. Okay, so 7/26 is going to be 1 year. So let's say the tribulation starts on God's Feast of Trumpets, which is either 9/23 or 10/7. So this will make sense to you. I'm just picking a date. It doesn't have to be either of these dates, but I'm just showing you the timeline to show you how much time we have left. Okay? So up top, 7/1/26, 27, 28, that's 3 years, and then add the 6 months, and you get to 1/1/29. So that is Nisan 1, 2029, after 3.5 years, if the tribulation starts on either one of these dates. So if God uses the Gregorian, 9/23 is the Feast of Trumpets, okay? And then if he uses the full moon calendar, which we think is the correct calendar, October 7th is the real Feast of Trumpets. So that's why I put 7-1 up here, because it won't matter what day God uses. It's Feast of Trumpets, the start of the tribulation. All right? And that's what everybody's locked into. So after you get 3.5 years, we know for a fact that Moses and Elijah die. The beast overcomes them. They're dead for 3.5 days. And then, they come back to life and they ascend and go into heaven. So they have a 3.5-year ministry, 1,260 days. They get killed by the beast. They rise from the dead and they ascend. Those are all Bible facts. Nobody disputes them. Okay? So we also know that the Antichrist gets killed somewhere in the midst. That's what Daniel 9:27 says. He's going to break the covenant in the midst, and he has a death and a resurrection. The false prophet says, make an image for the beast, the one that was wounded with the sword and did live. So it's going to be about the same time. So a 3.5-year ministry, in the midst of 7 years, Antichrist is killed and resurrected. So I'm saying Passover of 2029 is where he's going to die. So he's going to be the false Messiah, dying on Passover, rising on Resurrection Day 117. So there's AC killed, AC resurrection, Antichrist. All right. Forget about the next part for a second. So now we'll come over to here. Man, this is going to be nuts. So if you guys can follow this, it'll be a miracle. So now you have Psalm 90:10, where God said, if you reach 80 years, it's soon cut off and you fly away. So the fig tree generation started in 1949. I explained it on the big video. This is 100% rock solid. All the reasons. They won the war. They were voted in the United Nations. Now they shoot for it. The fig tree shoots for it. So 80 years plus 1949 is exactly to 2029. Month 1, day 1, month 1, day 1. So they shoot forth in the beginning of the year. It's a perfect 80 years. God says, now it's soon cut off and you fly away. Well, the soon cut off is the abomination of desolation. He's going to die on Passover, rise on Resurrection Day, like I just said, and that's proven by Amos 8:14. Huge revelation from God. So that all makes sense. So listen to me. Now we'll hit this part. So Revelation 11:14 says, and the second woe has passed, the third woe comes quickly. So the second woe ended, and during the second woe, Moses and Elijah were killed, resurrected, and ascended. That was all part of the second woe, because the whole story of Moses and Elijah is a Revelation 11, where they're overcome by the beast. The whole world gives gifts because they're killed. They rise from the dead. People are in fear. God sends an earthquake. He destroys 1/10 part of the city. 7,000 people die, and they ascend before everybody's eyes. So that's all fact, all in the Bible. So if God says the third woe comes quickly, and right after their ascension, the second woe is over, that means after the 3.5 years, after they ascend, God says right there in Revelation 11:14, the third woe comes quickly. The third woe is the mark of the beast. That's the third woe. So down here, it's a perfect matchup. So the third woe comes quickly, which is going to be early in 2029. We'll come back to the top in a second. And the fig tree generation of Psalm 90:10 says it's cut off. So it's cut off by the abomination of desolation. This is Revelation 17:16, where God says, yeah, go in, burn her down, eat her flesh. So after the 80 years, beginning of 2029, 14 days later, it's cut off. So after he rises from the dead up here, then the false prophet says, hey, he was dead by the sword and now he lives. Make an image for him. So Daniel 10:4 has the vision, and it says he had the vision on the day, the 24th day of the first month. So this is basically 1 week later, and the mark of the beast at the seventh trumpet could be put into play. So listen, you have to hear this part. God said the three woes are the three trumpets, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh. So the fifth trumpet was the beast being let out. The sixth trumpet was the angels and the demon army that kills a third of mankind. But God showed us that Moses and Elijah died at the end of their 3.5-year ministry, and the second woe is over. Here comes the third woe quickly. So when the trumpet sounds in the very next verse, Revelation 11:15, that is the mark of the beast, because that's the third woe. So they have the mark of the beast in play, up and running, and it's also the day of the Lord, D-O-T-L, day of the Lord, because that's what Revelation 11:18 says. So really, Revelation 11:14 through 19 tells this whole story. So here's the fact of the timeline out of the Bible that you cannot dispute. The first half isn't shortened. They get 3.5 years. God said the third woe comes quickly after the second woe was over. Well, we know the second woe was over after 3.5 years, right? A couple of days after. So the third woe comes quickly, which is the day of the Lord timing, and the mark of the beast is the actual woe at the seventh trumpet. So now you have a 1-year period of the day of the Lord. So when you look at the bowl judgments, the first bowl judgment in Revelation 16, it says, pour out the bowl, and there will be griefsome sores on all those who've taken the mark. So God announces the day of the Lord at the seventh trumpet, but he lets the mark of the beast get in play before he starts the bowl judgments. Now, there is a blood moon in 2029 on June 25th, which roughly is going to be about the 19th day of the third month of 2029. So that could be the blood moon before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So on the longer video, I show you all the verses where God announces the day of the Lord, but he says it's near, it's nigh at hand. So when the seventh trumpet goes off, it hasn't quite officially started yet. It's near, because God's going to let the mark of the beast get into play, because the first bowl, which comes like a thief in the night, nobody knows when, and that's 1 Thessalonians 5:2, and that's when the day of the Lord, what we do, comes into play. So the second woe ends at 1/1/29. How do we know that? Because when you go back here to the 3 years, 1, 2, 3.5 years from the start of the tribulation, which is either going to be September 23rd or October 7th, it brings you right up to 1/1. So at the end of the second woe, that's when they're killed, and that's 1/1/29. So the third woe comes quickly after the abomination of desolation, and then they make an image and the mark. So are you seeing this? So now you got the day of the Lord starts with the bowl judgments, and then you got 6:30. So the Battle of Armageddon, Revelation 16, will end on probably, I don't know for a fact, but the 6th month of 2030, because 7/1, the true Feast of Trumpets of 2030, is Joel 2:15 and 16, the Feast of Trumpets fulfillment, the real fulfillment of Feast of Trumpets. So from 7/1 of 2025 to 7/1/2030, that's a perfect 5 years. And then you got to have right here. Okay. So from tribulation start to Feast of Trumpets 2030, 5 years, add 6 months for judgments, sheep and the goat, all the stuff that has to happen. And it's going to be 1/1/31, the kingdom start, which is a perfect matchup with Psalm 131. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So listen to me. If 3.5 years is up and the second woe is ended, just like Revelation 11:14 says. Now, I'm just going to read you that verse because I know this is the short version, but I really want you guys to get this. So Moses, they die, they come back to life. You know, they're dead 3 days. People give gifts. Their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. And after 3.5 days, the Spirit of God entered into them, and they stood on their feet, and great fear fell on them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying to them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Now, this is not a second rapture, like Dr. Barry and a lot of people say. There's no second rapture in here. It's Moses and Elijah ascending. So listen, the same hour there was a great earthquake, a 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain 7,000 men, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe, Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Well, the very next verse is the third woe. And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto the servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. So this is the day of the Lord. So from Isaiah 34:8 and Isaiah 63:4, it says this is the year of the redeemed. This is the year of recompense. So does the day of the Lord last for 42 months? Or does he cut short the time in righteousness? So people who cannot understand that there's a shortened tribulation know nothing. They know nothing about nothing, and they're blind. They have a glitch. They did not study. Do you get that? Romans 9:28, for he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth. He's going to cut it short in righteousness. So again, like people who don't believe in the doctrine of predestination, You're Romans 9:14. It's in the same chapter. For as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that wills, there's your free will, then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that shows mercy. Do you understand what God is telling you there? So when you say, I don't believe people are chosen to be saved or chosen for hell, I don't believe it. You're saying there's unrighteousness with God. So now God's telling you, I'm going to shorten the tribulation. I'm going to cut it short in righteousness. So God told the Jews to let the Hebrew slave go after 6 years. Even though they owe you 7 years, let them go after 6 years. Well, that's what he said to Israel and the Jews. But do you know what God's doing? God's letting them go after 5 years. And 3.5 years in the beginning of the tribulation, the first half, they're built up, they're protected. They see the glory of God, the supernatural miracles of God. So in all reality, God is saying, really, all Jacob's trouble is going to come down to a little over a year. That's it. That's it. Not even a full 1.5 years. So that's the mercy of God. Do you understand that? So for you to say, no, it's a 7-year tribulation, you're going against God's righteousness and mercy and grace and all of it. Because listen, you got to understand this. If the third woe comes quickly and the fig tree generation is cut off after 80 years and then soon cut off, we know, listen, if you start the fig tree generation in 1948 and at 80 years, it comes to 2028. We don't even have time for a first half of a tribulation for it to be 2028. So 2028 is out by default, which means 1948 is out. They had a war. They did not shoot forth until 1949. Now add the perfect 80 years, it's 2029. So again, back up here, 3.5 years from these two dates, 7/1 is the first day of the first month in 2029, matching up perfectly with the fig tree generation being cut off by the abomination of desolation because they were rolling for 3.5 years. And after he dies on Passover because Jesus kills him and he rises 3 days later on Resurrection Day, then 2/3 of the Jews are going to believe in him. So I am proving to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's cut off after 80 years and the third woe comes quickly after the second woe is ended. The second woe ended with the ascension of Moses and Elijah. So that's only 3.5 years. And if the third woe comes quickly and the day of the Lord only lasts 1 year, that's 3.5 years plus 1 year, 4.5 years. And now you add in the extra time for the Battle of Armageddon and God allowing the mark of the beast to be put into play because the first bowl judgment is poured out on them that have already taken the mark. So the day of the Lord is not going to be running parallel with Antichrist's reign for 42 months. It's not going to be the day of the Lord for 42 months. Jesus said in Matthew 24:22, unless those days be shortened. So do you understand? So if the tribulation starts on 9/23, that means we have to be raptured before 9/23, unless the rapture and the start of the tribulation is the exact same day. That doesn't fully make sense to me. There seems like there would have to be some time in between. If the tribulation starts on what I'm calling God's real calendar, the full moon calendar, then we have to be raptured before October 7th, because that would be the start of the tribulation day. Doesn't have to be a lot of days. Could be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 7 days, could be 10 days. It doesn't matter. The clock is ticking. Today is September 9th, 10:27 p.m. This is God's real timeline. The 3.5 years, that doesn't get shortened. They get the full 3.5 years. That ends the second woe. God says the third woe comes quickly. The third woe is the mark of the beast, 100%. The first woe he's let out. The second woe are the angels that kill a third of the world. And the third woe is the mark of the beast. The day of the Lord runs parallel with the mark of the beast. The abomination of desolation is a one-day event that they're burnt down in 1 day. So that cuts it off. That's not the woe, it cuts it off. So the fig tree generation matches up perfectly with the third woe, which is the seventh trumpet, which is the day of the Lord, because it's Revelation 11:15 through 19. So it's found in verse 18. I hope that makes sense to you. So everybody wants to know, what's the last date we can be here? All you got to do is the simple math, because God taught us all this now. So anytime, so now if we go past 10/7, which I'm saying is the 7th month and the first day, 10/7 is the true Feast of Trumpets. How much further can God go past October 7th, the 7th day? Because now you'd get the 10th day of the 7th month as atonement. The 15th day is tabernacles. The end of tabernacles is basically 8 days later. You have to add 3.5 years to whatever date starts the tribulation. And if that goes past Passover of 2029, which is right here, now the Antichrist is going to die and rise from the dead on a random day, on the 2nd month. It can't be. The third woe comes quickly after they die. The fig tree generation is the foundation of this whole thing. 1949 to 2029 is 80 years, and God said, soon cut off. How long, Lord? 14 days later, on Passover, confirmed by Amos 8:14 and all the rest of the facts. So that's the tribulation. 3.5 years. The abomination of desolation, 2 weeks later, roughly. And then a little bit of time. Again, now this is speculation up here with this Daniel date, but it's not going to be long for the mark of the beast to be in play, because somewhere, I've been telling you, the 3rd or 4th month, the year of the day of the Lord is going to take place, and it's going to culminate in the 5th or 6th month of 2030. I got 6th month down here just by default, but it could be the 4th or 5th month easily. And then the real Feast of Trumpets fulfillment will be Joel 2:15 and 16 in the 7th month, first day, 2030. So Hopefully you understand that. That is the timing of the tribulation. 3.5 years plus the abomination of desolation has to happen. Then they have to make an image and get the mark in play. And then God says, okay, I'm going to start judging the world because I've taken back this world. Jesus takes back the kingdoms of this world. When? At the 7th trumpet. I just read it to you. He takes it back at the 7th trumpet. So there's no 42 months of Antichrist. He cuts it short in righteousness. Jeremiah 34:17, therefore thus saith the Lord, ye have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty. That's Jubilee. Everyone to his brother and every man to his neighbor, behold, I proclaim a liberty for you, saith the Lord, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So because they didn't honor the Jubilee by letting the slave go after 6 years, so that's Jeremiah 34:17. Jeremiah 34:14, 3 verses earlier, at the end of 7 years, let ye go every man his brother a Hebrew, which hath been sold unto thee, and when he have served thee 6 years, thou shalt let him go free from thee. But your fathers hearken not unto me, neither incline their ear. So in Jeremiah 34, they were punished for not doing this. So it's a Jubilee year in 2031, the start of the millennial kingdom. So God is going to do even his own word that he told the Jews. Hey, he owes you 7 years. Let him go after 6 years and proclaim liberty to him. God's going to even do it better, and he's only going to let the mark of the beast be in play for a little bit over a year. So again, look at these are speculation days right here. But the point is, it's September 9th. The tribulation has to start because it can't go past 2029 Passover, because that's the absolute year that they get cut off. If you reach 80 years, it's soon cut off. So the abomination of desolation is going to happen Passover 2029. That's a fact. So now we have to go in order for the tribulation to start. So we're going to be raptured any day now, maybe even in 2 days, 9/11. It's coming. It's coming. The rapture's coming. That's the real timeline. All glory to God.